So over the summer, I took a course on interpersonal communication. Here are some things I learned about. Code switching is adapting a manner of speech when context changes. Code switching is not a bad thing. We all tend to do it, whether intentionally or not. Matching speech styles can actually strengthen bonds, but be careful about using ethnic or racial terms from a group you are not a member of. I first heard about code switching after Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez spoke to the National Action Network in New York in April 2019.
I'm proud to be a bartender. Ain't nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with working retail, folding clothes for other people to buy.
Back then, there was discussion as to whether that was code switching or pandering. Self-esteem involves evaluating your qualities that determine your self-worth. Self-compassion involves facing one's own shortcomings with understanding and patience. The main difference is that self-esteem simply acknowledges your qualities, whether good or bad. Self-compassion is looking at your qualities as fluid and changeable by your own actions. Personally, when meeting someone new, I take the first positive thing about them and let that one thing form an overall positive outlook on that person. I could meet a new coworker who likes to play guitar like me, so that's a positive aspect I could mentally cling to. This is called the halo effect, and it also feeds into confirmation bias. I have to check myself with first impressions because if I don't, I risk downplaying the negative parts of a person. In other words, I am more likely to ignore red flags. A distinction that's helped me is that hearing is the process in which sound waves strike the eardrum and cause vibrations that are transmitted to the brain. Listening is when those vibrations are given meaning. I know I'm guilty of mindless listening. So I was at the mall the other day and there was this guy in a Godzilla costume, but then I saw there was this liquid that he was dragging around everywhere. Yeah, that's crazy. And then I felt these dollar bills in my Yeah, pocket. that's crazy. I didn't go to the club recently.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But at the same time, it's pretty impractical to listen with great attention 100% of the time. In the end, it's self-preservation. Just be wary of when you should be listening and what not listening communicates to the other party. He's always late. She's always complaining. Mike never does his job. They always break up with me after their birthdays. Overgeneralization happens when we base a belief on a limited amount of evidence. One shortcoming does not define a whole person. Overgeneralizations are generally false, and they usually come from a negative or angry place in a person. We can even do it to ourselves. I'm never good enough. I'm so stupid. I'm always making bad decisions. It's usually helpful to stop self-talk that sounds like that. This seems obvious, but it's crucial. Bryce Christensen wrote, "If you do work of any meaning, mistakes are going to happen. Imagine the difference one simple change in attitude like this can make on having a positive work environment." I've been using those words all the time since I read them. Sometimes we use modifiers in our language that are not necessary. We often hear about working moms. We rarely hear about working dads. A good friend of mine said that he wanted to be a male nurse. He clearly identified as a male, so he displayed a preconceived notion that if your title is simply nurse, that you are a female. On the racial side, the word black can have negative connotations. Think about the Black Plague, Black Market, Black Cats. This could affect one's perception of black people. I was very confused when I learned about the terms in the black and in the red that are used in accounting. I initially thought, well, both of those colors are bad, but being in the black actually means there is positive net income or profit. Also, as a very young child, when I first heard my skin described as black, I thought, wasn't my skin closer to a shade of brown? It didn't make much sense to me, but black is what seems to have stuck in society. There's a lot to address with this question, and there's no real application here. It is just something I've been thinking about when considering language. I could be considered African American. If I was lost and people were searching for me, some would think to look for an African American man. I wasn't born in Africa, I was born in Florida. According to what I learned from a family reunion I went to years ago, my ancestors on my mom's side are from Africa. On the other hand, this man, Elon Musk, was born in South Africa, and his father is South African. Encyclopedia Britannica describes Elon Musk as a South African-born American entrepreneur. Why not just African American for him? To most citizens, if all we saw was a picture of him, we wouldn't describe him as African American. Who is simply American? I've been learning that the timing of almost anything can be pivotal. Consider timing when communicating. Let strong initial feelings about something subside before lashing out a response with confusion or anger. Think about if it's the right time for the receiver to get a message. A few years ago, I was seeing this girl, and on our third outing together, it was her birthday party, and we were at this club and people were drinking, and at some point in the night, I asked her, what are we? She seemed shocked, she didn't have a solid answer, and we did not go on any more dates after that night. So I definitely learned one lesson in timing back then. Most people want to have a balance of independence and connection with others. Being connected with others is healthy, but it can't be so consuming that we lose our own solidarity. Sociolinguist Deborah Tannen illustrates this tension perfectly with an image of two porcupines huddling together to get through a cold winter. The porcupines warm up by staying close together, but their quills prick each other so they also pull away. This leads to constant distance adjustments to balance their warmth and pain. This duality can be seen with humans too. Sometimes I want to be around people, sometimes I want to be alone. Both are good for me. Finding the balance is key though. So those were 10 considerations for communication. I also have 6 real-life applications I learned, but that's for another time. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you soon.